Alright, here we are for part 3 of this video, or in other words, day 3 after work. The only things left connected are the front drive shaft coming off the transfer case. There's a big cross member right here that will be coming out, and the bell housing bolts. I do have help scheduled to arrive later on this evening. We're going to start by removing the bolts from the front drive shaft, and then we're going to start removing bolts from this cross member, and we're going to get a jack in here to support the rear of the transfer case that's still hooked to the transmission, and we're going to get the cross member out of it. So let's get started. So here we are at the front drive shaft where it connects to the transfer case. And this one's a little trickier, as for the rear drive shaft, the rear tires are sitting on the ground, the parking brake is set, the front on jack stands. It's not going to roll anywhere when I start applying a load to these bolts. But on the front one, it will just free spin. So what I do is I will stick a pry bar up in here, whichever way I can, and use it as leverage to break these 4 12.12mm bolts off. And once I get them all broken loose and removed, I'll just usually just lay the drive shaft right over here up out of the way, or I'll grab a big zip tie and zip tie it up. Just support it out of the way. Alright guys, well, my help showed up and we were in a hurry and I didn't get time to film. So I'm going to walk you through what just happened to remove this as one assembly. So the first thing we did was we put a jack underneath, just a regular 4 jack underneath the transfer case, and jacked up just a little bit 2 studs from the transfer case, and about right where they meet, really, the transfer case and transmission, stick down through here to 21mm nuts. I removed those 2 nuts, and then I jacked up just enough that I could see an air gap right here. The next thing I did was I started removing bolts. Now there's 6 bolts over there. These 2 here, these 2 here. So 2 of these are going to go up and they're going to be sticking out the side of your frame. These 2 will be sticking through those holes right there. And there's those last 2 will be sticking straight down in the frame. Once I got all those loosened up, you come to the driver's side of the vehicle, you take these 3 bolts. Now they're held with this, there are 3 nuts that are captured in one assembly. So let's take all 3 bolts out. The 3 nuts will stay together in the same triangle pattern as that right there. And you don't have to worry about, you don't need a wrench or anything. One thing I will say is that these have little keepers on them that they will move around in there and whatnot. But like this one here, if they get bent up, as the bolt starts coming out, it'll whip around. So it's best to go slow with it. I wouldn't use an impact and have your hand back there at the same time. It'll whip around and hit your finger. But if you just go slow with it, if they do bend up on you, you'll still get it out. I'm going to bend that one back down flush so it'll actually bite into this. So I'll show you next what we have going on. So as you can see here, we have the whole thing laying on the ground. It's closer to the rear axle now. So I've got a floor jack there underneath the bottom. And right here, those are those 2 studs with the 2 nuts I was talking about. You gotta jack it up off of. And then I've got a transmission jack just sitting right there in the middle. Now it's kind of hard to get a transmission jack to, it's hard to get the transmission to sit on this transmission jack. There's not a flat bottom to it. There's 2 studs that stick out. It's kind of a pain. And it's a pretty decent sized transmission for a 3/4 ton pickup truck. You can see by my hand size here, that's a pretty big manual transmission for a 3/4 ton pickup truck. Alright, so you're going to have 6 bell housing bolts, 3 on each side. So you can see the 2 there. The ones up on top, I'm not sure if I can even get it there, right there, are a little tricky to get to. But if you just stick your arm way up there, you'll feel it around and you'll finally get them out. It's not too bad. They will come out. So once you've got your floor jack and your transmission jack holding it up there, I had 2 people. I had one guy on the rear jack, one guy on the transmission jack. Everything was just kind of held up to hold the transmission in place where it was. Got the 6 bolts out, and then I got on the rear, and I just started kind of gently wiggling and pulling. He was up here with the pry bar, just gently rocking it back and forth. It popped off the dowels. There's one of the dowel pins right there on each side. Might go get that. There it is. Once you pop it out, now you got to keep it level because it's got to come out of the pressure plates over there and the disc. But it's got to come out of that disc. These splines here have to come out nice and straight and even. If you start cocking it, or somebody gets out of pace or goes down or up before somebody else does, you'll pinch it. It'll mess with your pilot bearing or bushing, whatever you have in there, and it'll be a pain to get out. So just keep everything nice and square as you can and just slowly pull it out. Now, mine got a little off balance and it gets stuck, and you'll think you're hitting something. You're not. You're just you're pinched on the splines. So just try to keep it nice and level as it sits in the truck, and you can come back a little ways before you start hitting the tunnel. I don't think you really start hitting until about right here. That's for reference. That's where the shifter goes to the floor there. So you've got a little ways to move back. You'll have the splines almost completely free to drop out of there before you actually hit anything. So once you get it back here, you just slowly start lowering everything down, keep coming back, down and back, down and back, and now we've just got it sitting here on the transmission jack and on the floor jack, and I'm just going to leave it right there. It's not in my way. As you can see, he's sitting here. There's plenty of room. So there is, I believe there's 8, 2, 4, 6. There's 8 bolts that hold on your pressure plate right here. And now the way to take these off is, well, the way to tighten them, the specific way to tighten them is across from one another. So you start on one side and then go to the other side and just do a star pattern, kind of like you're doing lug nuts on your truck. And you just go, I don't know, about a turn, half turn, slowly pull it in nice and even. So when I took it off, I did the exact opposite. I did corner to corner slowly until the pressure came off. You remove that, your disc will fall out with it. But here's what this disc looks like. It's pretty worn out. It's not even that old, but that's what abuse will do to it. And here's the pressure plate. Now the pressure plate, it's got 2 little spots in it. I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna run some sandpaper over it. It's gonna be fine. Same thing with the flywheel. There's just a couple little spots here. It just mostly has dirt sitting on it right now from pulling it out of here. Clutch material. So this one will get cleaned up with a new disc and a new pilot bushing, and we'll be good. Alright, so thanks for watching. Hope this helps you out. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to comment. I know it would have been nice to see it all, you know, slide out of there, but it just wasn't very feasible on a creeper on concrete floor to safely get it out of there and hold a video camera at the same time. But we're working on that. We'll see what we can get done there.